So today, for the first time in a long time, I got to go to the movies. Now, I freely own up to the fact that I am a nerd. I admit it. I own it. It's not a big deal to me. So I went and saw Star Wars, naturally. Force Awakens. Um, Fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. Absolutely recommend it for anybody who was a fan of the original trilogy, or even if you were fans of that not quite so good prequel trilogy. I think this was very much a video in line with A New Hope in terms of how it went about its story, how it set up for the other movies that will be coming down the pipeline. This will be spoiler free. Let me go ahead and say that. I'm going to preface it by saying I am not going to spoil anything. Um, Now, I was born in '89, so I came along after the original trilogy. Um, but my mother, being the movie lover that she was, made sure that way before Phantom Menace came out, I had already been exposed to the original trilogy. I loved it. Even from a little kid, I loved, one of my favorite characters was Vader. I love the lightsaber battles and everything that goes along with it. I remember some times where I would have the little tubes that like you get inside the wrapping paper. I remember doing lightsaber battles with those with my little brothers. Anyway, as far as like over the top lightsaber fights, if you're looking for that, you're not going to find it in Force Awakens. None of the characters, in my view, are on par with Vader or Obi-Wan or even Luke. And Luke wasn't exactly that great of a lightsaber fighter, in my opinion, at least in the original trilogies, which were pretty basic in terms of their action. Um, that being said, the lightsaber battles that they have, very fun, more scrapper than finesse, that's for sure. Uh, Especially with Kylo Ren, which I will say one thing: I love lightsabers. I want one as far as one of the ultra sabers that I've seen on the internet. I want one, if for no other reason than to be able to say, "Hey, I got a lightsaber." Um, Not a big fan of Kylo Ren's. I mean, I like the idea with the Claymore style where you have the blade coming out the top plus the blade on each side, and he uses that to good effect. But I don't like the whole unstable fire look that comes off of it. I always like the lightsaber for their technology and for their stability. Um, as far as Force stuff goes, Force is not. I wouldn't say it's that widely used. Definitely nothing on par with the original trilogy, or yet. And I wouldn't even say. I'd say if you're looking for more lightsabers and Force stuff, you'd be better off with the prequel trilogies. But that's not why I watch Star Wars. Fantastic story. I love seeing all the characters show up and how they showed up and how they fared since Return of the Jedi, which is my favorite of the Star Wars movies of all time. Return was always my favorite. Just because it kind of set up why I like Vader. I don't like Vader for what he does in New Hope. I don't like Vader for what he does in Empire. I like Vader because he comes around, he supports his son, and gets rid of the bad guy. I mean, he scares everyone just completely witless. And then when everything looks horrible, it looks like everything's done, he turns good in the best possible way. And I always like that redemption story. That being said, I loved The Force Awakens, but there are a few things I don't quite like. They kind of, I don't know if it's because of the runtime or if that's just the way that J.J. Abrams likes to do this kind of stuff. I've seen Star Treks, but those look completely different to me, even as far as storytelling and everything, than Force Awakens. they kind of throw a lot of stuff at you and they don't tell you why. The bad guys, I guess you would call them from this. Unless you support those. I mean, we've got the 501st out there, the great cosplayers of the 501st who have been dressed in like stormtroopers for years. So some people like the bad guys. No offense if you do. Me, I have to say, like I said, Vader, favorite character. But the Supreme Leader, I want to say his name. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I think they said it 2 or 3 times. Starts with an S. That's as much as I can tell you. They really didn't do a good job of explaining what the hell he was, because he is no alien like I've ever seen on Star Wars. For starters, he's freaking huge. Clearly dark side, but they don't explain, how he is dark side. He's not Sith. I'll put it to you this way, unless he's just some kind of weird ass Sith from nowhere. The fighter pilot type stuff, TIE fighters, X-Wings, really well done. Beautiful. They do chase scenes. I will say this, J.J. Abrams, fantastic job on the chase scenes. They really did just a fantastic job on it. I'm hoping in the next couple movies, though, I want to see more of like Luke Skywalker. He was never my favorite, but I want to see more of him than what we saw in Force Awakens. I do want to see more of... I want to see more of the people who are using the Force in this movie and who are showing that they'll either become Jedi or possibly Sith or possibly something else. Don't know yet. I'm ready to see them step up their game a little bit because, yeah, I loved... My favorite part of the prequel trilogies is they introduce us so much more to Force powers. I mean, you got that incredible fight with Dooku versus Yoda where they're showing Force powers used quite frequently. The lightsaber fights are all over the top and beautiful, especially... You've got a new type of lightsaber with the Force Claymore, I guess you would call it. And it reminds me so much of the first time I ever saw Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber. And the fight scene they came out with that was just incredibly beautiful. There's nothing like that in Star Wars Force Unleashed. I love the movie. It's a fantastic story. But I'm ready to see more. I'm ready to see a step up from what I saw in this movie, because this movie, probably my biggest complaint is it left me wanting more. It almost felt like just close off, done, and I wanted more. I know it's probably not realistic. I mean, if I want more in that regard, it'd probably be like, say, binge watching the 3 all at the same time, which can't happen because there's not the other 2 yet. Good movie. Like I said, spoiler free. I may in a couple weeks talk more about why I like it, because the villain... I'll say this much. Vader, my favorite, is a very controlled evil. He is very much of a cold, calculating individual. Versus Kylo, who's kind of prone to throwing hissy fits with lightsabers, like to the effect to where, and I wouldn't classify this as a major spoiler. There's a scene where he's having one of these hissy fits, which is what I'm classifying them as. I mean, it's like a little kid ticked off. I want to catch the bad guys. I want to catch them now. There's 2 stormtroopers walking outside the room, and they see the sparks flying and the molten metal rolling across the floor, and just they look at each other, they turn around, and they walk the other way. So it's clear this is not the first time he's gone berserk like that. And then the Stormtroopers. I've got to talk about the Stormtroopers. That's going to be my last thing on this video, other than the fact that I love it. Way to step up your game, because the Stormtroopers of the past are a joke. They can't hit the broadside of a barn. They die easy. The Stormtroopers in Force Awakens, I almost said Force Unleashed. Not a bad game, but this movie's better. Number one, they have no qualms about going up against somebody with a lightsaber. It's almost like, bring it, bitch. Pardon the language. It's going to happen from time to time. Two, they can hit a target. They have shown that quite well. I don't know if it's, they never do. They bring in the concept of clone troopers in the prequel trilogy. They don't really talk about it in the original. If some, say, a book or something like that does, feel free to leave it in the comments. Because one thing, I love books. I commonly read just quite a bit, about as much as I can. My job kind of takes away from that a little bit. If you hadn't seen that, watch my intro video. Explaining more about me and the channel. But I highly recommend it. It was a good movie, and I have to say, it made the hair on my arm just kind of stand up, because there's me who has seen all the other movies that loves it. It's nostalgia at its best. All the best parts. First time you ever see the Falcon, the first time you see even the gunning seat, and remember Luke and Han trying to protect him from TIE fighters. There's a cantina scene that almost reminds you of Mos Eisley. It calls to your nostalgia, but at the same time, it brings in so much new stuff that it makes me want to watch more. And the little kids in that theater that were there with me, who were cheering, who were laughing, who it's clear that they have caught the Star Wars fever. I enjoy seeing that. Because it's a trilogy, it's a series that I want to see passed on to the future. I want eventually my kids, when I become a father, I want them to be able to experience this too. Hopefully they'll be Star Wars people. Although I've seen both, Star Wars, Star Trek. To me, they're both good. But anyway, highly recommend it. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, pass on my name. My name is Ryan Adams. I'll try to do movie reviews every once in a while, but anyway, hope you enjoyed this. As you can tell from the tree behind me, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, may it be a good one, and, as only appropriate for this video, may the Force be with you. See you now.